In my opinion, Buffy as a series is not fantastic when it comes to season openers. But I would not only consider the freshman to be the strongest one, I would actually say that it's a perfect season opener, which is why I find it surprising that it's not more of a fan favorite. If nothing else, it is a very realistic portrayal of how rough the transition from high school to college can be and the loss of identity which can come from going through said transition. In the episode, Willow, Oz, and a very nervous Buffy start their freshman semester at Sunnydale University. While Willow and Oz settle in without issue, Buffy finds herself feeling increasingly overwhelmed, and after a new friend of hers disappears due to a gang of vampires on campus, she almost gives up. It's only once an old friend comes back to offer her support that she regains her confidence. One's heart kind of breaks for Buffy in this episode, as she struggles to get her footing in her new surroundings. The first shot of her on campus, with the camera zooming in over a huge crowd of students to focus on her, lost and vulnerable amongst the crowds, really emphasizes how big a pond Buffy is now swimming in, and beautifully underlines her feelings of helplessness, which continue throughout the episode. She looks so utterly lost and confused, perplexed by the activity around her, and trying to keep up with the myriads of people trying to push flyers and agendas on her.
Have you accepted Jesus Christ as your personal savior? I meant to, and then I just got really busy.
Buffy's helplessness is only further compounded when she sees how easily Willow and Oz seem to be fitting into college life. Willow's excitement over all the spurty knowledge juxtaposes Buffy's less than enthusiastic approach nicely, and shows the stark difference between the two when it comes to their attitudes towards study. While not as enthusiastic as his girlfriend, Oz too seems to be able to transition into college life with ease, partially due to his laid-back nature and partly due to the fact that he already knows people on campus. Buffy's scenes with Willow at the beginning of the episode are actually quite sad, as she struggles to connect with her best friend and her enthusiasm, and instead sees Willow pulling away from her, something which again is quite common during the transition from high school to college, and which we see happening in even greater capacity later on in the season. We also meet Kathy, Buffy's annoyingly perky roommate, giving everyone who lived on campus during college horrible flashbacks to incompatible roommates they were forced to endure. Kathy seems okay, if somewhat overly enthusiastic at first, before revealing her true colors.
I just know that this whole year is going to be super fun.
Buffy's horror and then discomfort with her roommate are not only hilarious, they lay the groundwork for the season's second episode. As we are all wont to do, when Buffy starts to feel uneasy and unsettled, she attempts to return to those places and people who feel most familiar to her, starting with Giles's apartment. To her absolute horror, she finds her former watcher, Hugh, Hefnering his time away with a lady friend introduced as Olivia. Buffy's horrified reaction to Giles's social life is pretty amusing, and underlines the parent-child dynamic that they have, as she reacts in pretty much the same way a child would react to catching their parents having sex.
I'm not supposed to have a private life?
No, because you're very, very old and it's gross.
While being entertaining, the scene is simultaneously quite sad, and once again, serves to show that Buffy is being forced to move into a new world which she is not ready for, and where Giles doesn't quite fit in. This disconnect between Buffy and Giles is a running theme in Season 4, and this episode establishes the roots to that disconnect wonderfully, as Giles gently, if somewhat condescendingly, tells Buffy that she's in college now and has to handle her troubles herself. Buffy feels further rejected when she returns home, and finds that her mother is using Buffy's room as a temporary storage space. While Joyce is obviously not trying to push her daughter out, believing that Buffy would be so excited about college that she wouldn't be home for a while, Buffy sees this as a clear rejection, as well as feeling like she does not now have a home to return to or a safe space for herself. And again, this disconnect from Joyce continues through the season, playing into the season's overall themes of change and the unfamiliar. As Buffy wanders aimlessly through the house, we have the quiet and understated phone call from Angel in LA, the other half of which we see in Angel's pilot episode. It's a bittersweet piece of continuity that, coupled with Buffy imagining seeing Angel at the Bronze, shows how hard a time both Buffy and Angel are having in trying to move on from one another, and emphasizes the love that neither were quite ready to let go of. At her most vulnerable and defeated, Buffy ends up at the Bronze, once again trying to return somewhere familiar and safe. This time, she actually receives what she needs in the form of amazing Xander Harris, who pops up with his uncanny ability to be exactly where he's needed and gives Buffy one of the most beautiful and hilarious speeches, telling her exactly what she needs to hear in the moment.
When it's dark and I'm all alone and I'm scared or freaked out or whatever, I always think, what would Buffy do? You're my hero.
Xander tends to get over-vilified by parts of the fandom, but moments like this really show how important he is to Buffy and the series as a whole. The villains of the episode are an on-campus vampire gang, led by the hilarious Sunday. The gang is pretty entertaining, and their habit of snatching freshmen who were struggling with their new surroundings is actually quite clever, and I feel like the show maybe could have done more with this premise. Their running tally of which popular print each freshman will have is a particularly funny addition.
Do we have a Klimt? Yes!
Big score for Klimt. Monet still well in the lead, but look out for Team Klimt coming from behind.
The new friend of Buffy's whom they snatch is played by the now very famous Pedro Pascal, and recent interviews have revealed that he not only remembers the part, but also the positive experience of filming the episode, and speaks very highly of Sarah Michelle Gellar and her off-screen support. Buffy's short friendship with his character Eddie is cute and very sweet, and makes his death at the hands of the vampire gang that much sadder. It's been alleged that the gang's leader Sunday's original characterization had her as a former Slayer who was turned into a vampire, and while I don't 100% know if this is true, it is an awesome idea, as I've always wondered what a Slayer-powered vampire would be like, and if Sunday had become a recurring character, this could have added to the Slayer lore and Buffy's characterization. As it is, she is a wildly entertaining villain and has since become a fan favorite. Even without the backstory, Sunday ends up being a worthy opponent who helps to push Buffy into reasserting who she is and what she can do, very similarly to the demons down in the Hell Dimension in Anne, the previous season's opener. In fact, the majority of Buffy season openers focus on Buffy having lost her way and trying to find it again. When She Was Bad, Anne, and even Buffy vs. Dracula to some extent, all focus on this angle, so it's nice to see that the freshman does it so well.
Hey, Buff. Need a hand?
No thanks. I'm good.
Buffy struggles for most of the episode, but comes out on top in the end. Although, as evidenced over the season, college is quite a bumpy transition for her to make, and it takes her a while to become fully comfortable with her new surroundings and role as a college student. Overall, The Freshman is a great episode, one which is woefully underappreciated. It showcases the rough transition from high school to college wonderfully, exploring the disconnect between friends which happens, the yearning to return to the familiar, and the way one must find their footing and adjust to new surroundings, all while setting up the themes of disconnect and change which continue over the season. All up, a perfect season opener to what is actually quite an underrated season.